Hi there. Hope you got on okay yesterday. So he's defeated the monster, and today we're going to hear all about their celebrations, and they're going to be drinking mead, and Hrothgar's going to give Beowulf and all the Geats loads of treasure. He gives them some horses, lots of different treasure. I'm not going to read all out that because that goes on for quite a while, but he gives them all these rewards for killing Grendel. And at the end, today, what you've got to do once I've finished the reading, your task is going to be to write a little bit of direct speech. So you're going to be thinking about how to use inverted commas again. It might have been a while since you've done that. So I'll go through that in a minute on I'll share the screen and show you some reminders of how to do that again. But you're going to be writing a little bit of speech between Hrothgar and Beowulf. So Hrothgar basically congratulating him and saying, thank you, you've managed to do it, and Beowulf talking and a little bit of a conversation between them both. Okay. So the Geats cheered and shouted. They hugged one another. They converged on Beowulf. Beowulf was gasping. I wanted to throttle him. He's finished, roared one Geat. Here and now. Done for, shouted another. I couldn't hold him. He's not strong enough. Wherever he goes, said a third companion, death goes with him. I've done as I've said, Beowulf panted, and I've avenged Leofric. Until that very moment, the Geats were not aware that they had lost one of their companions. They listened as Beowulf told them what had happened when Grendel first came into the hall, and all their joy at the monster's death turned into anger and gloom at the fate of Leofric. Look at his hand, muttered one man. Each nail like steel, each claw, I'd say, 10 terrifying spikes. Hand, arm and shoulder. They're describing Grendel's arm, which is on the floor in the hall. No man can withstand Beowulf, and no monster neither. Beowulf raised a hand, and the Geats fell silent. Hang it up, Beowulf said. Stick it up outside the door, under the gable, and then give Hrothgar news of my victory. And in this book, there's a picture of the hand, Grendel's hand, which they're going to nail up under the gables, like the bits of wood at the top of just above the door. Beowulf's companions hastened to do as he had asked. One man climbed onto another's shoulders just outside the great door, and by the guttering candlelight they secured Grendel's grasp, blood-stained and battle-hardened, under the gable. 2 others found brands at the hearth, and they rekindled them in the embers, and they headed for the outbuildings. Within a few minutes, the first Danish warriors hurried into the hall. Others followed on their heels, and then at dawn, as the eastern sky turned pale green mackerel, the king himself proceeded to the hall on his old, unsteady legs, supported by Wealhtheow, his queen. He paused at the door, and he marvelled at the monster's grasp. And then he embraced Beowulf. This hall, Heorot, Beowulf said, I return it to you. Once again, you can call it your own. I'd lost hope, Hrothgar said, lost all belief that anyone could end it, this monstrous nightmare. 12 winters, said Wealhtheow. I kept my word, said Beowulf, and I fought hand to hand on equal terms. Beowulf, best of men, from this day on I will treat you like a son. Whatever I have here on this Middle Earth will be yours also. Word of Grendel's death quickly spread far and wide. Throughout that day, hundreds of Danes converged on Heorot to stare at the monster's cruel grasp, and in the evening, Hrothgar held a feast in honour of Beowulf and the Geats. At the end of the evening, Hrothgar and Wealhtheow retired to their quarters, and Beowulf was conducted to a bed in the outbuildings, where he could sleep alone and more peacefully. He was very weary after his night's work. But all the other Danes and Geats remained in Heorot. Benches were pushed back and the whole floor was padded with bolsters and pillows, and each man's helmet and each man's head, his helmet and coat of mail, his spear and shield gleamed in the gloom. Silence in the hall, dark and deeper dark. Another night for men. One of the feasters sleeping in Heorot was doomed and soon to die. There's a little picture of them there, though, feasting and celebrating and embracing Beowulf. So, your task today is to write this conversation between Beowulf and Hrothgar. Okay. So you can write your title if you like, write direct speech. So you're going to write a paragraph of speech between Hrothgar and Beowulf. So Hrothgar the king will be thanking Beowulf for what he's managed to do after 12 winters, 12 years of terror. So he's going to be immensely pleased and proud and thankful and grateful and appreciative. And he's giving Beowulf a lot of treasures. Beowulf will be also feeling proud of himself for fighting without a weapon and maybe describing what he did or saying thank you for the gifts which Hrothgar gives him. So just a conversation of what you would like to write, what they might be saying to each other. So here we go. Let's remember how to use inverted commas or speech marks as they used to be called. Just going to see if I can make that a bit bigger actually. Okay. So remember to use the inverted commas around the bit that's being said. So if you think of the bit that would be in a speech bubble, or the bit that's actually coming out of the person's mouth, will have the inverted commas around it. And then afterwards you will write asked Henry, or on here it says asked Henry, but said Hrothgar. We'll think of some other words for said in a second as well. Also, you need to remember that you always start with a capital letter. Even if somebody is halfway through a sentence, it still always has a capital letter. So you have your inverted commas at the start, then you have a capital letter. And at the end, before you have your inverted commas at the end, you always have to have a piece of punctuation. So it could be a comma or a full stop or a question mark if it's a question, obviously, or an exclamation mark. Okay, and then when somebody else starts speaking, and this is the bit that a lot of people find it really hard to remember, you must start a new line. So on your lines in your book, you cannot have, or you shouldn't have, two different voices, two different people on the same line in your book. So it's like you're starting a new paragraph instead when somebody else starts speaking, rather than writing it on the same line. Don't worry if you keep forgetting, just try to remember if you can, okay? So it's inverted commas, capital letter, punctuation at the end, full stop, comma, exclamation mark or question mark, then inverted commas, and then start a new line when somebody else starts speaking. And then you might also want to use some of these, just scrolling down here, synonyms for said. So rather than saying said Hrothgar, said Beowulf, said Hrothgar, said Beowulf, you can use some of these that might help you. Okay, give it a go. I'll see you tomorrow. Let me just stop this bit here. Okay, bye bye, have a good day.